Welcome everybody to Lawrence Heritage State Park. My name is Rich Padover. I'm the summer interpretive tour guide here. And welcome to the last of the Bring Your Own Lunch presentations for the 2024 summer season. We are planning on continuing with the Bring Your Own Lunch program. Normally it ends at the end of August when my season ends here. But under our current Visitor Services Supervisor, Matt Hagopian, he is seeing if this program can be extended now, at least during the fall season, and then we'll take it from there. So the tentative plan, and I stress a tentative, is to continue possibly with these Bring Your Own Lunch programs on a monthly basis, okay? And it would be the second Wednesday of the month, okay? So that's the tentative plan. A few things still have to fall into place, but if it does come to fruition, if you're a member of the Friends group, you will get an email notice from Matt, and he will, if you're not a member of the Friends group, I know he will also do some additional advertising to get it out there into the public, okay, with the local media. So again, this is the last one for the 2024 summer season, but we do hope to continue with this program now during the fall season. So stay tuned. If you're a member of the Friends group, you'll get a notification. If you're not a member of the Friends, although we hope you would be, but if not, again, we will try to get the word out to the public at large as well. Okay? So, all right, so with that out of the way, oh, and by the way, I'll put in a quick plug for the 40th annual Bread and Roses Festival coming up on Monday now, on Labor Day, 2 blocks up from here on the Compagnon Common, roughly from 12 to 6 in the afternoon. So there will be food vendors there and performances, musical performances. As you may know, the Bread and Roses Festival commemorates the Great Strike of 1912 here in Lawrence, and it's also a celebration of the American worker and everything that has been achieved and accomplished by the American worker throughout the 20th century and into the 21st century. So, and there will be, as we always do, there will be trolley rides that day, I believe on the half hour, starting at 12 noon until 4:30. It's free, but you do need to get a ticket from the Friends table. The Friends of the Park will be having a table on the Common, so if you would like to take one of the trolley rides, just be sure to get a free ticket from the Friends table up on the Common, okay? And then I will be doing walking tours, 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. I will be doing the Bread and Roses Strike walking tour. We will meet at the commemorative boulder across from City Hall, okay? And then we'll walk down Common Street, go into, or I don't think we will go into, because it's a holiday, it'll be closed, but we'll make our way to the Everett Mill on Union Street, and then back up to the Common, all right? So that will be the Bread and Roses Strike walking tour that will give you a lot of information about the history of the strike, okay? So now, I think that's everything. So today we have a historian and friend of the park here, Tom Spitalere, whose exhibit just came down yesterday, actually. I hope you had a chance to see Tom's bicentennial exhibit in our gallery in July, August now. And then soon, within days, we hope that the next exhibit will be coming in. Okay? So Tom will be talking to us today about socialism. With that, I'll let him get into the details now. So Tom, it's all yours.
Hi, thank you, Rich.
You're welcome.
I want to thank everybody for coming today. My name is Tom Spitalere. You've heard me speak before on this, and I found a whole lot of information before I did last year's talk. I was going to save it, and I found more for next year. I think this is a great segue into the bread and roses. One quick thing, we always film this on Community Access TV, but we are live today because I'm training somebody new because we'll be live from the Italian feast all weekend long and to make sure the tablet and all the equipment's working. All the cameras are facing me, so nobody has to worry about being there on camera. Live. Okay? Just so we get that out of the way. All right, so where are we going to start with this issue? Well, first of all, I have a history degree, like Rich said. I'm a friend of the park. I do a lot of different things. I also have a poli-science degree, too. So, when you have a political science degree, you hear the word socialism. Everybody's got their own definition for it. So, we're going to start with Merriam-Webster's dictionary on socialism to give you a definition of what Webster's dictionary says it is, not what we read about on Facebook and everywhere else. And then we're going to get into where did socialism really start? And where did it end? You'll be shocked. It started and slowed down in the same place, and now it's rebuilt in the same place and growing. For whatever reason, but it's growing. And then we'll end it with a bio on the first socialist mayor ever elected in the United States. So, socialism is an economic and political philosophy encompassing the diverse economic and social systems characterized by social ownership of the means of production as opposed to private ownership. It is described as the economic, political, social theories and movements associated with the implementation of such systems. Social ownership can take various forms including public, community, collective, cooperative, or employee. As one of the main ideologies of the political spectrum of socialism is considered the standard left-wing ideology of most countries in the world. Types of socialism vary based on the role of markets, planning, resources allocation, and the structure of management organizations. Socialist systems divided into non-market, market forms. Non-market socialism, a system seeks to eliminate the perceived inefficiencies, irrationalities, unpredictability, and cries of the socialist traditionally associated with capital accumulation and the profit system of market. Socialism retains the use of monetary prices, factors, markets, and sometimes the profit motive. Socialist parties and ideas remain political force in varied degrees of power and influence, heading on national governments in several countries. Socialist politics have been internationalist and nationalist, organized through the political parties and opposed by party politics, at times overlapping with trade unions and other times independent, critical of them and the present of industrialized and developing nations. Social democracy originated within the social movement, supporting economic and social interventions to promote social justice, while retaining socialism as a long-term goal. In a post-war period of social democracy, embraced a mixed economy based with kineticisms within the predominantly developed capitalist market economy and liberal democratic that expands state intervention and includes income redistribution, regulation, welfare of states. The socialist political movement includes political philosophies organized in revolutionary movements in the mid-1800s out of concerns of social problems, socialists associated with capitalism. By the 19th century, after the works of Karl Marx and his collaborators Frederick Engels, socialism had come significantly anti-capitalism and the advocacy for a post-capitalist system based on some form of social ownership and means of production. By the 1920s, communism and social democracy had become the two dominant political tendencies within the international socialist movement. The socialism itself becoming the most influential secular movement of the 20th century. Many socialists also adopted the cause or other movements such as feminism, environmentalism, and progressivism. While the emergence of the Soviet Union in the world's first nominally socialist state led to socialism widespread association with the Soviet economic model, academics have noted that Western European countries have been governed by the socialist parties or have mixed economies that sometimes called democratic socialists. Following the revolution in 1989, many of these countries moved away from socialism as their neoliberal consensus replaced the social democratic consensus in advanced capitalistic world. While many former socialist politicians and political parties embraced the third way politics, remaining committed to equality and welfare while abandoning public ownership, class-based politics. Socialism experienced a resurgence of popularity in the 2010s, mostly prominently from the democratic socialism. So that's what they say. Guys, how's it looking like? Okay, good. All right, so where did it all start? Well, the first socialist mayor was actually elected in Haverhill, Massachusetts, John C. Chase, and we're going to get to him in a minute. What is interesting, though, so Chase was elected in 1898 to 1900. He was elected as a Social Democratic Party, then the Socialist Party of America. Okay? The second socialist mayor in the United States, 1900 to 1901, his name was Charles Colter, in another shoe city, Brockton, Massachusetts. Then we have Charles born in 1903, and from Wisconsin, and John Frank, F-R-I-N-K, that it's with an E, but 1903, and he was from Anaconda, Montana. And then the fifth one elected was in 1903 in the city of Haverhill, Massachusetts, Parkman, Flanders. Further researching this, I found out in 1913, Charles Morrill, M-O-R-R-I-L-L, he was elected as a state rep out of Haverhill, Massachusetts. Now, what does all this have in common? It's shoes, it's industry. The same industry that drove Lawrence to power, that drove Haverhill to power, that drove Brockton to power. Shoes and textiles. Okay? So, what was going on that might have caused this issue to really go somewhere? Okay? So, by the beginning of 1860, we all know was what? Civil War. Okay? What else was going on? This area was where the mills are going in Lawrence and Haverhill and Brockton. Haverhill and Brockton and Lynn are, what are they, shoe cities. No. They didn't like what was going on in the shoe city in 1860s. So there was the great New England shoe strike. We celebrate bread and roses, that's for another day. But we also had this great New England shoe strike. So by the mid-1800s, socialism and social democracy was strong in this area. It was strong because it incorporated local labor unions and provided broad support. The political ambition of city leaders, also the inept few political leaders. Labor movement in this area was not formed. The Working Man Party would have appeared on the ballot. The Small Labor Party disappeared around 1892 when a large group of citizens committed to supporting the People's Party. So the Socialist Party's been around, but they keep changing their name. James Carey was a prominent in the trade union and presided over the caucus. By 1895, the Populist Party was done. James Carney, who led the party, was reported to be a strong socialist. In April 1895, the Socialist Labor Party, or the SLP, was born. By the fall of 1895, most of the Populist Party had joined. So we're seeing they're making a move here. With the merger of sorts from the SLP had gained local labor leaders. Besides the strike talk, he also asked people to strike at the ballot box and elect leaders that will fight for the workers. Remember, mill life wasn't that great. People lost their hair, some got scalped, not just here in Lawrence, but throughout the factory lifestyle. The Socialist Party was working, the Socialist Party was working hand in hand, promising citizens and workers of the region for better working conditions by 1893, during which the strike would get to help provide some better working conditions for the workers. Socialism captivated the strong, but due to the internal conflict of resurgence, and that we'll get to that in a minute too. So the shoe strike. The shoe strike in the 1890s was, the economy was starting to slow down. We've gone through this many times in our great culture. You know, we have booms and busts. But by the 1860s, with the war, after the war, people came back for work, money was tight, so the economy slided. Working conditions were poor at best. I would say they were abominable. Health issues of workers, they didn't live long. Some of them died working in the mills. By 1893, the factories were cutting hours. Leather prices were going up. Shoe sales were down, and we're in an economic depression. Work is getting up. So by mid-December, which was the peak of the busy season, March to December to March, I should say, there was not a lot of work. And we all know it's the holiday season. And everybody wants to have this, time. Well, it wasn't going to work out that way. It was a very tough holiday season. And then, so around March of 1895, just alone in Havel, 3,000 shoe workers, made up of Italian and Jewish immigrants, walked out of the Chick and the Spalding factories located on River Street. That was just in Havel. Brockton, they were marching. They were marching everywhere out of work in 18 for the shoe industry. Lawrence did not have shoes, well they did, but it was not the main driving force of the economy back then here in Lawrence. And Havel was the second largest shoe manufacturer at that time in the world, so the city was. Brockton being number one. So they walked out. So the factories were producing less. And the Chick and the Spalding were new factories. If you ever been down River Street in Havel, anybody, you know where the old Dairy Queen ice cream is, down BMW dealership? There's a mill building right down the street. It's all public housing, and one right across the street. It's actually condos, not public houses, it's condos. And one right, that was the Chick and the Spalding. There's a nice shopping place in there where you can go get your fishing, so you can fillet your fish or fillet your steak at home. You want a professional shopping, there's a shopping guy in there. And there's a big sign. That's the best way to explain what that place is in Havel. It's on the left. Okay, so that was producing more than the ones on Washington Street. The strike ended less than a month later when the people voted to go back to work. Now, what came out of the Great Shoe Strike? Not much. Not much at all. They got a little bit better working conditions, a few hours cut off their work days, but guess what they did get? As I repeat, one Lawrence president once said, if we reduce their hours to 40 hours and we pay them the same, it's a pay hike. In fact, we can't afford the pay hike. Well, same with the shoe factories. They said pretty much the same thing, but they got reduced hours. But it wasn't easy living back then. And then towards the end of the 1890s, and I didn't write this one up, I'm gonna do this out of my head. And Rich, if you're gonna chime in when you can, if I forget something. There was another strike, not too far from here. Go, get to the end of Essex Street, take a left on 28 and go straight north. I mean south, the Andover, north Andover. There was the trolley strikes, the Italians came in to break the trolley rails that they used. Those guys went on strike. So strikes were happening all over the place at this time. From little ones to giant ones. But not a lot getting accomplished. Okay? But you have to learn from these. You know, what works, what doesn't work. And that's why all these smaller strikes were so important. Leading up to the big one that we're going to celebrate on Monday. They all learned what could be done. Because remember this, the mills controlled everything in all these cities. And that's another reason why the people united together behind this idea of socialism. Okay? The owners controlled everything. You worked for them, you paid them your rent, they owned the markets, they owned everything. So by the end of the week, your check went nowhere. It was pretty much, from a historical standpoint, legalized slavery. The mill owners were paying, but by the time the checks were done, you're living check to check, and then you have to have the kids working and everything else. So people finally got fed up with this. They really did. And things had to change. So what happened? In 1903, this poor worker who was born in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. Anyone know where Gilmanton, New Hampshire is? Ever been there? Okay.
Paid place.
What? Yeah, paid. You think it's paid place, but wait a minute. We're going to go back to the industrial thrive again. Who's ever heard of H.H. Holmes? We're not going to discuss him today because this is about socialism. But who's heard of H.H. Holmes or Mudgett? Anybody? No? During the Chicago Exposition, the World Fair, an industrial city, he created the Murder Hotel. He was the first mass murderer. Mudgett's homes here go down 4 houses on the same road, and that's the same place where John Calvin Chase was born. So, Gilmanton is a very interesting community. So he was born in Gilmanton in 1870 to a working class family. Louise Weber was the mother. She was from Danesville, New York. Now I don't know what Danesville, New York is. Never been there. Never looked it up. Let's see. So she was born in Danesville, New York. Okay. And then they got married here in New England and moved around. Okay. So by the age of 1, the family had moved from New Hampshire, Gilmanton, to a small town, Ossipee, New Hampshire. Okay? So why did they go to Ossipee? They're looking for work. And in that area, his father, Levy Chase, got a job working in the Woolen Mills, which is in Rochester, New Hampshire, which was literally not too far from Ossipee. Okay, so he moved there. Later on, the father died. He's buried in Ossipee, New Hampshire. Been out to his grave right in the center of town. So the mother ended up working in the mills. By the age of 9, he was working alongside his mother to help support the family. I mean, imagine working in a mill at the age of 9. I mean, that can be uncomfortable. Having trouble after a while finding steady work, the family moved to Stamford, Maine, another mill city. They worked there for a while, and then later to Barnstead, New Hampshire. So he's moving all over the place here. By the age of 13, in 1883, he's working in the shoe factory in Barnstead. In 1888, at the age of 16, he joined the Boot and Shoe Workers Union and was elected a delegate to help organize a national convention. 16-year-old kid elected to a national convention. He must have had some great leadership skills. And I imagine working at the age of 9, he grew up real quick. By 1890, Chase moved to Haverhill and was working in the shoe factories. His union soon led him to unemployment. So he tried to unionize the shoe factories. You think that went over big with the owners? No. He was let go from his job. So what did he do? Well, he wanted to stay in contact with people. So what do most people do that work in the mills? Most of them were men and children. So after work, where would they go? They go home, they might stop, get some food. Or if they're making a little bit, they may once a week go treat themselves to a delicacy that we don't really allow anymore because we know it's unhealthy. He opened up a smoke shop on Locust Street, where all the workers would go. And then he'd get to communicate with the workers. Smart guy. Locust Street to the downtown is less than a block away. So this is all in walking distance. He also in that smoke shop next to it opened up and established a co-op grocery store. Oh, so now they're buying groceries from him cheaper than they're buying from the other grocery stores. So in 1890, he became a member of the People's Party, which was the Populist Party. 1894, he became a member of the Socialist Labor Party of America. 1896, he committed member of the Marxist Party, ran for Attorney General of Massachusetts on the SLP, which is the Socialist Labor Party ticket. In 1898, by the way, he didn't win that seat. In 1898, he organized a new party, the Haverhill Socialist Democratic Party, or that was led by Victor Berger and Eugene Debs. Then he later changed it to the SDP, the Socialist Democratic Party. In 1897, he actually lost a race for the Senate, running in the local Senate district. So in 1898, he ran for mayor of Haverhill and won and became the first socialist mayor elected in the United States. In 1899, he was re-elected for a second term. In 1900, he lost the election. 1901, the Socialist Democratic and Socialist Party merged together, and Chase was named a national organizer. This guy got around. And then again, he reopened the cigar shop. Again, he closed it for, reopened the cigar shop. 1902-03, Chase was named the Socialist Party candidate for governor of Massachusetts. He didn't do so well. He captured 8.4% of the vote. On his second campaign for governor, 6.4%. Now you're starting to see the Socialist Party decline by the early 19. They're declining, but like I said earlier, look where it all started. In 1903, they did elect one more socialist mayor, as we know, in Haverhill. And in 1913, they elected the rep out of this area. The rep actually covered Haverhill and Methuen and part of Lawrence. Later, Chase was elected to the Secretary of State in New York for the Socialist Party. In 1906, he was the selected candidate for the governor of New York and lost. He got 21,751 votes. That's a lot of votes to lose. But that was only 1.5% of the people who voted that year. So he was way down on the ballot. But imagine that 21,751 votes. We barely get that in local election with 3 candidates, right? In 1920, Chase ran for Congress and lost. The Socialist 14th District of Ohio and lost. So Chase died 1927. Died 27th of January, 1937, in New Brighton, Pennsylvania. The cause of death was influenza, alcohol, and he's buried at Union Cemetery. And then, what started happening now that Chase is out of the picture, right? Socialism captured strong, but internal conflict and resurgence of the Republican Party carried loss in 1903 that led to the end of the socialism climb in this area. What was going on by 1903? Even though we had one more elected later on, what really started building up? And of course, this is history we're talking about here. John Greenleaf Whittier. Everyone knows who he is, right? Poet, abolitionist. Does everybody know he's also the father of the Republican Party? Yep. So, socialism died and the Republican Party picked up. But that's not where the story, that's where the story ended before. Okay? But that's not where the story ends today. Because this is interesting. I'll go back a little bit and then we'll finish it up. U.S. towns electing mayors from 1911 to 1920. 1911, 74 socialist mayors were elected in the United States. 74. This is after Chase. This is after Park in Flanders, later on in Haverhill. 1912, there was 8. 1913, so the year of the strike in Lawrence, there was only 8 socialist mayors. 1913, there was 32 elected. 1914, there was only 5. But I'm assuming a lot of these terms were 2 terms, so there's some overlap in numbers here. 1915, 22. 1916, 6. 1917, 18. 1918, 2. 1919, 5. And 1922. Those are the early parts. So, with that, and everything that was going on, then socialism kind of changed like the definition said earlier. But, if you Google it today, and you go to the proper sites, obviously, where there's backup to everything. You gotta watch, obviously, when you Google and me as a historian has to be real careful with this. Okay? The Socialist Party is now rebuilding. Here in Massachusetts, again, where it started. City Life, which is a newspaper, the rise of socialism in Boston. And this came right off the Massachusetts Workers' Party website. So there are now 60, the last time I read, there were 63,000 in the New England area registered as socialists, according to their sites. So, why is it coming back? According to what I read in these newspaper articles, I want to make sure you know where they came from, and other good sources, which historians would use to write books. The political climate, the change, and the way workers are being treated at the lower end of paying jobs. Not the, high-end jobs, but your lower wage jobs. And that's where they gain popularity out. So, the food service industry, the hotel industry, and that industry, that's where it's spiking. Obviously, people making 45, 50, 60 bucks an hour, but the ones that are minimum wage and just above that, that's where it's spiking again. But it's interesting how you think of socialism, you think, well, it started in some foreign country. It might have started in some foreign country 100 years ago, 200 years ago, but it gained more popularity in New England than any other state in the Union. Now, I have a list here you can come up and look at. There is actually a socialist mayor elected today. There's a list here, the list of elected socialist mayors in the United States. I grabbed this off of Wikipedia because the other site wouldn't let me print, and it looked pretty much the same. We have one in California, one in Pennsylvania. That's 2023, not 2024. So 2023 to current. So he's in there. I don't know what the terms are in California. Eduardo Martinez, Democratic Party, the DSA, Democratic Socialist American Party. Sarah Innamorato, 2023, in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, also a DSA member. Oh, former DSA member now. Okay. And then in 2022, Constantine Anthony, term ended in 2023, so they're no longer current. Burbank, California. And then Georgia, there was one in 2022, which is kind of odd, Georgia. California makes sense. Georgia, interesting. In Khalid Kamoud, he is currently still the mayor of South Fulton, Georgia. And then in 2021, still current, in San Francisco, California, James Coleman. And then there's Ann Watson, who's current in Montpelier, Vermont, New England town. Mark Eldridge, 2018, still current in Maryland. And the last one that's current was Chakab Antar Umada in Jackson, Mississippi. And then from 2015 to 2019, and I'm only saying this because it's local, Portland, Maine's mayor was also a socialist. He was with the Democrat. Oh, he was a self-described one? No, he's a DSA member. The one from Mississippi was self-described socialist. And the one from Vermont belonged to the Vermont Progressive Party and Democratic Party. So obviously, with Red Roses Folk Festival right around the corner, and what happened in this great city of Lawrence and all the other cities and towns in New England, it looks like something that we thought was long gone is actually rebuilt, which makes this a more interesting talk. And next year we'll get into something a little different on this because I found some more stuff. Now, are there any questions before I thank you all for coming? Any questions? No? All right, I want to thank you guys for coming. Yes?
I think it's that socialist label that is almost like a bad word.
It is.
You know, we all drive the same roads and, you could even argue that libraries are socialist, you know.
You could.
So you can go to the library and check out a book for nothing, you can get a library card for nothing, right?
As long as you live in that city, you get it for nothing.
And what would happen to, Bernie Sanders, every time they try to run, they bring up the bad word, socialist, but he's a fantastically gifted politician and orator.
Oh, yeah.
And he really is concerned about the country and the state of, the people in this country.
No, I agree with you.
So I almost wish that we could invent another word
Right.
because it's just, it
Well-
has such bad connotations as connected to, communist countries and
Right.
other, other types of.
Right, because people with socialists, we have a constitution in the United States, as we all know. So we have basic rules, and then cities and states towns have their own basic rules, but they all fall back to the Constitution. Where socialists never really had that in the beginning, and it was an ideology and an idea. So you had people like Engels and Marx, and not even they were that bad, but other people who used that mass to kill hundreds of thousands of people used that word of socialism, and they're not really socialists because there was no ideology. They created their own ideology under one word. And that's why I started this talk off with a definition out of the dictionary, to make sure we were all on where this talk was going was right there. Not what your perspective belief is, or you go to the local coffee shop and you hear people calling everybody that word under the sun, and most of the time they don't even know what they're talking about. It just sounds good because it makes people look bad.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't the Scandinavian countries socialist by
Yes.
title?
Yes.
Right, and then happiest people in the world, and you're.
Right.
It seems like we failed to learn that lesson.
We fail to learn a lot of lessons in life. That's what makes history. That's why we can go back and look at history. History is about learning from our past. Not changing it, but learning the mistakes we made to move forward to make this a better country, a better nation, and everybody being peaceful with each other. That's what it's all about. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Rich.
Thanks.
I want to thank everybody for coming.